a peaceful suburban neighborhood in upstate New York, with tree-lined streets, large houses, and perfectly kept lawns. It's a quiet place where everyone knows each other, and things rarely seem out of place. Laura Bennett, a 40-year-old housewife, is well-liked in her neighborhood. She's warm, friendly, and always involved in local events, whether it's organizing a charity drive or helping with the neighborhood watch. People see her as a model wife and mother, someone with a charming personality and a seemingly perfect life. Laura is married to Paul Bennett, a successful businessman in his mid-40s. Paul is highly focused on his work and often away on business trips. Although Laura and Paul had a close bond when they first married, over the years, things changed. Paul's busy schedule and dedication to his career mean he has little time for Laura, and their relationship has become distant and routine. While Laura's life looks perfect on the outside, she feels lonely. She misses the romance and excitement she once felt with Paul. Their relationship now feels cold and predictable, and her days often feel empty and isolated. Laura meets Ryan during one of her regular visits to the cafe. He's friendly, attentive, and brings a fresh, youthful energy that instantly catches her attention. Their conversations start off as casual chats, just a few words exchanged while he prepares her coffee. But over time, these conversations grow deeper and more flirtatious. Ryan makes Laura feel appreciated and seeing things she hasn't felt in a long time. His easygoing personality and genuine interest make her feel alive, pulling her further into a space where her usual boundaries start to blur. For Laura, Ryan represents the freedom and youthful excitement she feels she lost long ago. His admiration and flirtation make her feel desired and valued. The thrill of his attention sparks a hidden passion within her, something she had almost forgotten was possible. Spending time with Ryan feels like escaping into a new life where she can be carefree, fun, and truly herself. Not long after meeting Ryan, Laura unexpectedly runs into Jake, a fitness trainer she once knew from her gym. Jake is athletic, confident, and brings a different kind of allure, one that speaks to her more primal desires. When he suggests that they work out together, Laura agrees, eager to see where this connection might lead. Time they spend together at the gym quickly develops into an intense attraction that leaves Laura feeling exhilarated. Jake's physical confidence and energy appeal to her in a way that Paul hasn't in years. Their connection feels forbidden, thrilling, and unlike anything she's experienced since her marriage began. Jake fulfills Laura's need for passion and excitement. His bold and adventurous nature brings out her own hidden desires, allowing her to live out fantasies she suppressed in her marriage. With Jake, she finds the thrill of the unknown, a sense of physical adventure, and the pleasure of stepping into a world that feels forbidden. Laura's encounters with Ryan and Jake take place in secret. She's careful not to let anyone in her life notice the changes in her behavior, but her interactions with both men start to consume her thoughts. She balances between the youthful energy of Ryan and the thrilling intensity of Jake, each fulfilling a different need in her life. Together, they offer her an escape from the restraints of her daily life and a path toward the excitement and passion she's been craving. As the cold winds of winter set in, Laura's life becomes a web of lies and secrets. What started as innocent flirtation with Ryan and Jake quickly escalates into a full-blown double life. She carefully crafts this hidden existence, making sure no one suspects the truth. By day, she meets Ryan at the local cafe or for casual walks around town, enjoying his youthful energy and the attention he lavishes on her. By night, she sneaks away to meet Jake, fulfilling her need for passion and physical connection. Laura's world is now split into two separate realities, each one feeding different parts of her desire. Laura becomes an expert at keeping her two worlds separate. She learns to time her outings, slipping away to see Ryan during the day, while telling Paul she's running errands or attending a community event. At night, she finds excuses to leave the house for gym sessions or girls' nights out, all the while meeting Jake. She's careful with her words and actions, playing the role of the perfect wife to Paul, all while hiding her growing obsession with both men. Her routine becomes increasingly complex as she balances these secret meetings, careful not to let her two worlds collide. She lies about where she's going, who she's seeing, and why she's often distracted or distant. Laura's heart races with the thrill of it all, but she's also growing anxious. The fear of getting caught keeps her on edge, yet she continues to chase the excitement her affairs provide. As Laura's behavior grows more erratic, the cracks in her seemingly perfect life begin to show. Paul, though absorbed in his work, starts noticing changes in her late nights, distracted moods, and a growing distance between them. He's no fool and begins to feel something isn't quite right, but he's too consumed by his own professional concerns to dig deeper into his suspicions. Laura's subtle lies become harder to keep track of, and she starts to feel the pressure of maintaining her perfect facade. Meanwhile, Laura's affairs with Ryan and Jake begin to take their toll. Both men are becoming increasingly aware that something is off, though neither of them knows the full extent of her deception. Ryan, though still swept up in the excitement of their connection, begins to notice that Laura is often distracted and seems distant after their meetings. He picks up on subtle hints that she may be seeing someone else, but chooses to ignore it, hoping his bond with her will strengthen with time. However, the nagging feeling that something isn't right lingers. Jake, on the other hand, is more perceptive and confronts Laura about her increasing distance. He begins to suspect she might be involved with another man. His jealousy and frustration grow as he notices Laura pulling away from him at times, especially when she makes excuses about late meetings or staying out longer than planned. The tension between them rises as Jake's suspicions grow stronger. As the winter months drag on, Laura finds herself at the center of a dangerous love triangle, caught between the thrill of being desired by both men and the constant fear of being exposed. The pressure of keeping up her double life begins to weigh heavily on her, and she starts to wonder just how long she can keep her secrets hidden. As the new year begins, the tension in Laura's secret life reaches a boiling point. Winter's chill has settled in, and with it, the weight of her growing double life becomes harder to carry. She has successfully managed to juggle both Ryan and Jake, but the cracks are beginning to show. Ryan, once easygoing and patient, has started to notice Laura's increasing absences and her distracted behavior during their time together. His youthful infatuation has begun to shift toward jealousy, and he's no longer content with the casual affair they've been having. It's a cold afternoon in January when Ryan finally confronts Laura. They meet at their usual cafe, a quiet spot where they can talk without interruption. However, this time, Ryan isn't in the mood for pleasantries. He's noticed that lately, she's been more distant, often canceling their plans or showing up late. When they're together, she's preoccupied, looking at her phone or checking the time. He can feel it, a shift in the energy between them. Ryan's suspicions have been building for weeks, and now he can't hold them back. "You've been acting strange lately, Laura," Ryan says, his voice calm but firm. "I've been trying to reach you, and you're always too busy. What's going on? Are you seeing someone else?" Laura is taken aback by the sudden accusation. She's spent so much time keeping her two worlds separate, and now Ryan is confronting her about something she's been desperately trying to keep hidden. Her heart races, and she feels a wave of panic wash over her. For a moment, She considers telling him the truth, but quickly shuts the thought down. She's not ready to face the consequences of her actions. Laura smooths her features, putting on a mask of calm and reassurance. "It's not what you think, Ryan," she says, attempting to brush off his concerns. "I've just been busy with life, you know? I'm still thinking about us. I care about you, really." She tries to give him a reassuring smile, but the uncertainty in her eyes betrays her. Ryan doesn't look convinced. His jaw tightens, and he leans in closer. "I don't believe you, Laura. You've been pulling away from me. I can't keep pretending like everything's fine when I know something's wrong." His voice cracks with emotion, a mix of hurt and anger that makes Laura's stomach churn. She tries to downplay the situation, avoiding the truth at all costs. "It's just work and life. You know how it is. Please don't make this a big deal." She reaches for his hand, trying to calm him down, but the tension between them is palpable. Laura's efforts to reassure him only seem to fuel his growing jealousy. Despite Laura's attempts to placate him, Ryan's possessive nature begins to surface. The more Laura tries to hide the truth, the more determined Ryan becomes to uncover it. Over the next few days, he starts to watch Laura more closely. He notices when she's unavailable, when she cancels their plans, and when she's distracted during their meetings. He becomes fixated on her social media, combing through her posts and messages for clues, hoping to find something that will explain the changes in her behavior. Ryan's jealousy grows into an obsession. He starts following her movements, checking if she's spending time with someone else, and growing increasingly agitated when he can't get clear answers from her. He begins to show up unexpectedly at places where he knows Laura will be, like the cafe where they first met, and even the gym where she works out. Every time she brushes him off or gives him a vague excuse, Ryan's frustration builds. His obsession starts to consume him. He can't shake the feeling that Laura is hiding something from him, and now he's determined to find out exactly what it is. This confrontation marks a key turning point in their relationship. What started as a flirtatious and carefree affair has transformed into something darker. Ryan's possessiveness and obsession are growing, and Laura's attempts to maintain control over her secret life are becoming more difficult by the day. As winter turns to early spring, Laura's carefully constructed world of secrecy begins to unravel. The weight of her double life becomes unbearable as her actions start to catch up with her. February brings a tipping point, especially for Jake, who has long suspected that something was amiss in his relationship with Laura. The cracks in her facade are now widening, and the truth is beginning to surface. Jake's discovery of Laura's affair with Ryan comes unexpectedly through the whispers of mutual acquaintances. As the local gym, where Jake works as a fitness trainer, is a close-knit community, it doesn't take long for rumors to spread. He overhears a conversation between two of his clients, who casually mentions seeing Laura with Ryan at a local cafe. The realization hits Jake like a ton of bricks. He's been suspecting for weeks that something wasn't right, but now the pieces fall into place. Laura, the woman he's been seeing for months, has been seeing someone else all along. His initial reaction is a mix of disbelief and fury. How could Laura betray him this way? He thought he was the one she was truly interested in, that their connection was real. The anger rises within him, pushing him to confront Laura about the affair. The confrontation takes place in the dim light of a late evening, the same gym where they first met. Laura, who has been trying to keep her interactions with both men separate, finds herself trapped. Jake stands before her, his face a storm of emotion. "I know about you and Ryan," he says, his voice low but sharp. "How long has this been going on? Were you planning to tell me, or was I just a fool to you?" Laura feels a cold shiver run down her spine. She tries to compose herself, but her heart races. She's been caught in the act, and there's no easy way out. Her first instinct is to deny everything, but she knows it's pointless. Jake has the evidence, and the trust between them has been shattered. I didn't mean for it to happen like this, Jake, she begins, her voice trembling. It was a mistake. Both of you. It's complicated. Jake's eyes narrow, the raw emotion of betrayal flooding him. Complicated? No, Laura. You lied to me. All this time, I thought we had something. You've been seeing him behind my back, and now you want to stand there and tell me it's complicated? His voice rises, filled with hurt and anger. Laura tries to calm him, her mind racing for a way out. Please, Jake, don't do this. I care about you, but Ryan, he's been in my life longer than you think. For the first time, Laura feels the full weight of her choices. Both men know about each other now, and she's caught in the middle of their rage and jealousy. Jake's betrayal stings, but it's Ryan's obsessive behavior that's becoming truly dangerous. Laura is now cornered. Both Ryan and Jake demand more from her, each one expecting her full attention and loyalty. Jake, still seething with anger, warns Laura that if she wants to continue seeing him, she has to end things with Ryan immediately. If you want me, Laura, you end it with him. I'm not going to be your second choice, and I'm certainly not going to share you. Make your decision now. His ultimatum puts Laura in an impossible position. The pressure of choosing between the two men weighs heavily on her. At the same time, Ryan's obsession continues to grow. He's become more possessive, stalking Laura's every move. He starts following her even when she's with her family, showing up unannounced at her home and lurking in the background of her social media. His jealousy is spiraling out of control, and he now monitors every aspect of her life. He's not just watching her, he's watching everyone around her, convinced that the only way to keep her to himself is by keeping a close eye on her and making sure no one else gets too close. As Laura tries to balance the demands of both men, the situation becomes increasingly volatile. Jake's temper grows shorter with each passing day, his threats to end the relationship hanging over her. Ryan, meanwhile, becomes more possessive and controlling, following Laura's family members and keeping watch over her house, making her feel like a prisoner in her own life. The tension between the two men escalates, and Laura realizes she has lost control over the situation. Both Ryan and Jake are becoming more dangerous in their obsession, and the risk of everything falling apart grows with each passing day. Laura must make a choice, and soon. But even as she faces the pressure from both men, she finds herself unable to walk away from either of them, caught in the storm of her own making. The tension in Laura's life has reached its peak. After months of juggling two affairs, she finds herself teetering on the edge of exposure. The web of lies she's spun is unraveling, and the pressure is mounting from every direction. Her world, once carefully constructed to keep her desires hidden, is falling apart. Paul, who has been preoccupied with his work, begins to notice small, unsettling changes in Laura's behavior. She's distant, more distracted than usual, and spends increasing amounts of time away from home. He also notices her phone constantly buzzing with messages, which she quickly hides whenever he walks into the room. These signs, though subtle, are enough to make Paul uneasy. For years, he's trusted Laura without question, but something now feels off. One evening, after a particularly long day of work, Paul watches as Laura leaves their home in a hurry, dressed in clothes that seem out of place for a simple errand. He watches her car pull out of the driveway, and his suspicion flares into full-blown concern. Something is going on, and he's determined to figure out what. He begins subtly tracking her movements. He notices she's out more frequently, sometimes for hours at a time, And when she returns, she's often agitated or disoriented. He doesn't confront her directly yet, but he starts paying closer attention to her habits, convinced that something isn't right. Meanwhile, the rivalry between Ryan and Jake reaches a boiling point. Both men have become consumed by jealousy and possessiveness. They want Laura exclusively, and neither is willing to share her with the other. Their once muted suspicions have grown into full-blown animosity. Ryan, having become increasingly obsessive, confronts Laura one night, demanding that she choose him over Jake. "I'm not going to sit around and wait forever, Laura," he says, his voice tight with anger. "Either it's me or it's him. I'm done being the other man." On the other hand, Jake is becoming equally frustrated. He knows Ryan is in the picture, and he's not willing to lose Laura to him. "Make up your mind, Laura," Jake tells her coldly, his temper rising. "I won't keep being your backup option. You need to end things with him, or I'm walking." Laura finds herself stuck between two men who refuse to back down. The emotional toll of keeping up the affair with both of them is wearing her thin. She feels trapped, unable to give either man the commitment they crave, yet unable to let go of either relationship. The pressure builds to an unbearable level, and she knows that something has to give. As the weight of her double life presses down on her, Laura realizes that she cannot continue this charade much longer. She is scared of being exposed to Paul, the man she has been married to for over a decade, and the thought of losing everything, her family, her reputation, and her lifestyle frightens her. In a desperate attempt to regain some control over the situation, Laura decides to end her affair with Ryan. She convinces herself that ending the relationship with the younger man will resolve the tension with Jake and allow her to focus on her marriage. After all, Jake is the one who has provided the physical passion and excitement she has craved, while Ryan was more of an emotional escape. But when she tries to break it off with Ryan, he doesn't take it well. His feelings for Laura have deepened into an obsession, and he's not willing to let her go so easily. "You can't just walk away from me, Laura," Ryan warns, his voice thick with anger and hurt. "If you think I'm going to let you go without a fight, you're wrong. I'll expose everything to Paul. I'll ruin your life." Laura's heart races. The threat is real. Ryan has the power to destroy her marriage and her family. She knows she has no choice but to meet with him to negotiate. Her mind races with possible solutions, but deep down, she knows that she has pushed the situation too far to simply walk away unscathed. Laura agrees to meet Ryan at a secluded spot, hoping to convince him that ending their affair quietly is the only way forward. She tries to remain calm as she faces him, but the fear of being exposed looms over her. "Ryan, please," she starts, her voice trembling with a mixture of guilt and desperation. "I never wanted to hurt you, but this has to end. I can't keep going like this. You have to let me go." Ryan, however, is far from understanding. His jealousy and obsession have clouded his judgment. "You can't just decide when this ends," he snaps, stepping closer. "You've been leading me on, making me think I meant something to you. But you've been lying to me the whole time. I'm not just going to disappear, Laura. If I'm not with you, no one will be." The intensity of the situation escalates quickly, and Laura begins to realize that Ryan is not just angry, he's unhinged. He's desperate to keep her at any cost, even if it means destroying everything she's worked to protect. As she listens to Ryan's threats, the full weight of what she's lost begins to sink in. She's trapped between two volatile men, each one demanding her loyalty, each one ready to destroy her if they don't get it. Her double life has spiraled into chaos, And now she's faced with a choice she never anticipated. Keep the secret or risk losing everything she holds dear. The meeting ends in tension, with Laura unsure of how to proceed. She feels the walls closing in, and her life is spiraling out of control. The breaking point has arrived. Her actions, her lies, and her deceit have led her here, and now there may be no turning back. The tension in Laura's life has reached its breaking point. With her double life now fully exposed to the men she's been seeing, she decides to end everything once and for all. She arranges a final meeting with Ryan, hoping to sever the ties that have entangled her heart and mind. The meeting is set for late at night, in a secluded park, a place where they've shared moments of both passion and escape. This time, however, it's different. Laura intends to walk away, to end the affair, and free herself from the destructive chaos she's created. Ryan's growing instability. Ryan arrives at the park already on edge, his mind racing with a mixture of hurt, anger, and confusion. He feels betrayed by Laura's attempt to end their relationship and fears that she's abandoning him for good. Their time together had meant so much to him, and he's not ready to accept the truth. As he waits in the darkness, he rehearses what he plans to say, trying to hold his emotions in check, but the tight grip of jealousy and possessiveness is too powerful to ignore. When Laura finally arrives, she can sense the storm brewing in Ryan. He's not the same calm, flirtatious young man she once knew. He's angry, desperate, and he's been drinking. The air is thick with tension as Laura approaches him, trying to steady her nerves. She's determined to stay calm, to make him understand that this is for the best. "Ryan, I've made up my mind," she starts, her voice soft but firm. This can't continue anymore. It's over." Unbeknownst to Laura, Jake has been following her, driven by suspicion. Over the past few days, his jealousy and anger have reached a boiling point. He's been watching Laura closely, noticing that she's been more distant and evasive, and tonight, he can't shake the feeling that something is wrong. His gut tells him that she's meeting Ryan again, and he decides to take matters into his own hands. Jake arrives at the park, keeping a safe distance, his heart pounding with a mixture of anxiety and rage. He spots Laura and Ryan talking in the shadows, their words low and heated. His worst fears are confirmed. Laura is ending things with Ryan, and from the look on both of their faces, the conversation is far from amicable. Jake, unable to hold back any longer, storms out of the shadows, his fists clenched in anger. "What's going on here, Laura?" he demands, his voice shaking with fury. "You think you can just walk away from me and go back to him?" Laura turns in shock, her heart racing as she tries to calm the situation. "Jake, please, this isn't what it looks like," she says, stepping forward in an attempt to defuse the confrontation. "I'm ending things with Ryan for good. Please, just let me handle this." But Ryan, already on edge and feeling rejected, isn't willing to let her go so easily. "You think I'm just going to walk away after everything we've shared?" he yells at Jake. "You think you can just take her from me?" The situation spirals out of control. Words are exchanged, insults are thrown, and before long the confrontation turns physical. Jake, driven by jealousy and anger, lunges at Ryan, pushing him hard against a tree. Ryan, in a blind panic, pushes back, his fists flying. The two men struggle in the dark, their anger and emotions driving them to act recklessly. Laura watches in horror, trying to break them apart, but the violence between the two young men only intensifies. In the chaos, Ryan's hand scrambles for anything to protect himself. His fingers close around a nearby rock, then a broken branch, and in the heat of the moment, he strikes Jake across the face. Jake stumbles, disoriented and furious. He fights back with all his strength, knocking Ryan to the ground. The two men are locked in a violent struggle, each one desperate to prove that he deserves Laura's love. Laura screams at them, begging them to stop, but her words are drowned out by the sound of fists and grunts. In the chaos of the fight, something unexpected happens. As Jake presses down on Ryan, trying to subdue him, Ryan's hand scrambles once more, this time finding something far more dangerous, a hidden knife in his jacket. In a wild, desperate move, Ryan plunges the knife into Jake's side, the blade sinking deep. Jake gasps in pain, his eyes wide with shock as blood pours from the wound. He staggers back, his hands clutching at the injury, but the damage is done. He falls to the ground, crumpling in the dirt. The world around him spins as he gasps for breath, his life slipping away in the cold night air. Laura freezes in terror, her heart stopping as she watches the violence unfold. The realization hits her like a ton of bricks. Her secret life, her affairs, her desperate need for excitement have led to this tragic, irreversible moment. The man she once loved is now fighting for his life, and all because of her selfish choices. The park is silent, except for the sound of Ryan's labored breathing as he watches Jake bleed out on the ground. He stands, trembling, realizing the enormity of what he's done. Laura rushes to Jake's side, her hands shaking as she tries to stem the blood, but it's too late. He's gone. Ryan steps back, his eyes wide with a mix of disbelief and terror. "What have I done?" he whispers, his voice cracking. Laura, overcome with guilt and horror, stumbles back, unable to comprehend the tragedy she's witnessed. Her double life has led her to this moment, a moment of devastating loss and regret. The life she thought she could control has spiraled into deadly violence, and there's no going back. After Jake's tragic death, the police start investigating the murder. They work to figure out what led to the fight at the park. Detectives talk to witnesses who heard or saw the argument, and slowly they begin to focus on Laura. As they investigate her relationships with both Ryan and Jake, they realize she was secretly involved with both men, which raises suspicions about her role in what happened. Laura is questioned by the police several times. She tries to downplay the seriousness of her affairs with Ryan and Jake, but the detectives sense she's hiding something. They discover that she had been leading a double life, meeting with both men secretly while still being married to her husband, Paul. The more they question her, the more her behavior raises red flags. The quiet neighborhood where Laura lives is shocked when they hear the news of the murder. People who once admired Laura now struggle to believe the truth about her secret life. The news spreads quickly, and gossip runs wild. Laura's once perfect image as a friendly, active housewife is ruined. Her affair with two young men becomes the talk of the town, and her reputation is shattered. The community judges her harshly, and people begin to question everything about her. Laura's husband, Paul, is devastated by the scandal. At first, he tries to act like nothing has changed, but as the truth comes out, he feels deeply betrayed. His life, once private and stable, is now a mess. Paul is humiliated by the public's reaction and, unable to cope with the situation, files for divorce. He distances himself from the scandal and focuses on his own future, away from Laura. As the investigation goes on, Laura feels more and more alone. Her friends and neighbors turn their backs on her, unable to deal with the shame of being associated with her. Her life, once full of social activities, has collapsed. Now, she faces the consequences of her double life with nobody to lean on. Even as the police continue their investigation, the legal questions remain unanswered. The detectives continue to look into Laura's involvement and question Ryan as well, trying to figure out what really happened during the fight. The possibility of Laura being charged for her role in provoking the fight looms over her. For Laura, the aftermath is not just about the legal trouble, but also the emotional pain. She feels guilty for what happened to Jake, but she also struggles with the fear of what will come next. She's lost everything: her marriage, her family, and her friends, and the weight of her actions is hard to bear. Laura's image in the media is completely ruined. Her name is all over the news, and she becomes the center of public judgment. People no longer see her as the friendly housewife they once knew. Now, she's the woman who caused two men to fight, and one of them lost his life. Social media is flooded with angry comments, calling her names like homewrecker and murderer. The public's anger is constant, and Laura can't escape it. Her reputation is destroyed, and it's unclear whether she will ever be able to repair it. The full impact of Laura's secret life has now hit her hard. What began as a way to escape her unhappy marriage has turned into a nightmare. She's lost her family, her reputation, and her freedom. The investigation continues, and the public's anger grows stronger. Laura must now face the reality of her choices and wonder if she will ever be able to rebuild her life after everything that's happened.